Okay, today's lesson is lesson 1-1, absolute value, which is the first lesson in chapter 1, integers. So the following numbers are considered integers. The 3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and the dot dot dots mean it goes on. It means it does continue on. But the definition of integers are all positive and negative numbers and 0. However, 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 is special, okay? It is an integer, and it's considered an integer, but it is not positive nor negative. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about absolute value. And the definition of absolute value is an integer, how far an integer is away from 0. So the distance between the number 0 and that integer on a number line. And because it is distance, distance is always positive. So your absolute value is going to be positive. So in this example, and it's also written, they have I want you to see that right here. You have those two lines, straight up and down lines. Those lines mean that you have to calculate the absolute value of that number. Okay, so if you look at this first example, you have down here the absolute value of -4. So to find that out, you're going to go 4 hops. 1, 2, 3, 4. How far away is -4 away from 0? You count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Therefore, then, your answer is 4. Then we're going to do the same thing for a +4, the absolute value of +4. Again, you're going to count hops. So you start at +4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the absolute value of +4 is 4. Okay, so now you're going to find the absolute value of 2. So this is showing it to you on a number line. I do not expect you to write a number line unless it would help you or unless I ask you to do it, okay? But it shows you that if you're looking for number 2, you got to graph 2 on that number line, find the 2, and then you count your distance, 1, 2. So the distance between 2 and 0 is 2. So your absolute value of 2 equals 2. Okay? Now, we're going to do the same thing for -3. You start at -3 and you do your hops. 1, 2, 3. -3 is 3 away from 0. So the absolute value of -3 is 3. Okay, so I would like you right now to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Solve the absolute value problems for 1, 2, 3, and 4. You do not have to do a number line. Okay, so the absolute value of 7. The absolute value of 7, 7 on a number line is 7 away from 0. So the absolute value is 7. The absolute value of -1. -1 is 1 away from 0. So the absolute value of -1 is 1. The absolute value of -5, -5 is 5 away from 0. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. And the absolute value of 14, 14 is 14 away from 0. So the absolute value of 14 is 14. Now, when you're talking about absolute values, you should have probably noticed here that no matter what the number that's inside of your absolute value sign or symbol, it's going to be that number, but it's going to be the positive of it because it's distance. Distance is always positive. It cannot be negative. We've already talked about that. Now, the only time that you might have a negative absolute value is if you had something like this. The absolute value, and you had a negative sign outside of it, and it was -5. So what that means is you have to take the absolute value of -5, which is 5, but that negative symbol outside of it right here, that means the opposite of. So the opposite of, so this reads the opposite of the absolute value of -5. Well, the absolute value of -5 is 5, but the opposite of that is going to be a -5. So when you have a negative symbol outside, that means the opposite of. Okay? Okay. So let's look at example 3. Example 3 now has us comparing integers. Okay, so it is really important that you understand this that I'm highlighting over here, this remembering part, that a number line can be used to compare and order integers. Numbers to the left are less than numbers to the right. So the further it is on the right, the bigger it is. That's the bigger number. Okay? So we're going to compare 1 and negative 4, or the absolute value of negative 4. Well, 1, I put stars there for you to remember. The absolute value of 1, first of all, we got to figure out what that negative 4 is. So negative 4 is way down here. How far away is negative 4 from 0? Well, it's 4. So we put a dot on that 4. And we're comparing that 4 to that 1. And 1 is to the left of the absolute value of negative 4, or 4. So therefore, 1 is less than a negative 4. The number that's furthest to the right is going to be your bigger number. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to pause your computer and do 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then come back and we'll go through those. And again, you do not have to do a number line if you don't want to. Okay, so number 5, what I do is I always solve the absolute value first. So the absolute value negative 2 is 2. So 2 compared to negative 1, well, 2 is bigger, so it's greater than. Down to 7, I know I go down, I'm sorry. 10, the absolute value of 10 is 10, so 10 is smaller than 11, so it's less than. Number 6, the absolute value of 6 is 6. Negative 7 and 6, 6 is bigger than negative 7, so it's less than. And the absolute value of negative 9 is 9, so 9 is equal to 9. If you got those right, you are doing a great job, and we can move on. If not, you should rewatch to figure out where you made your mistake. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a word problem, a real life problem, where you would use this. So the freezing point is the temperature at which liquid becomes a solid. Which substance in this table has the lowest freezing point? Okay, so we have a negative 53, a negative 3, and a negative 39. We know one of those numbers is going to be the lowest. Which one is the lowest? That would be airplane fuel, which is in a negative 53. That would be furthest to the left on a number line. So now we want to know the freezing point, which is the freezing point of mercury or butter, closer to the freezing point of water at 0 degrees Celsius. Okay? Mercury is negative 39. Butter is 35. 0 is what we're looking to get, where I drew this blue line right here. That's where we want to be. Okay? So you would do mercury, put mercury on your number line, and then you would put butter on your number line. But then you have to find your absolute value, the distance it is from 0. So 35 is the absolute value of 35, which is 35. And negative 39, the absolute value of negative 39 is 39. So which is bigger, 39 or 35? 39 is bigger. So 39 would be your, oh, I guess I'm sorry. That's the furthest away. Closest would be butter, 35. I'm sorry. Okay, so now, when here, if I would have just gone a little lower, because 35 is less than 39, the freezing point of butter is closer to the freezing point of water. Okay, I'd like you to try number 9 on your own. Pause your computer and do number 9 on your own, and then come back. The freezing point is the freezing point of airplane fuel or candle wax closer to the freezing point of water. Okay, well, airplane fuel, up here, airplane fuel has a freezing point of a negative 53. So we need the absolute value of negative 53. And candle wax has a freezing point of 55. So we need the absolute value of 55. So the absolute value of 55 is 55. The absolute value of negative 53 is 53. So which one is closer to the freezing point of water? That would be 53, because 53 is closer to 0 than 55 is. It's smaller. Okay, you have to pay attention to those words. Those words are going to be super important. Okay, so what I would like you to do for practice problems is I would like you to do number 3, I would like you to do number 5, number 9, and also number 21. 3, 5, 9, and 21 for tomorrow.